Okay, good afternoon. The topic assigned to me is about Greek ethical teachings and Christian teachings. When we say Greek ethical teachings, its main emphasis on philosophical reflection in search of virtue and sometimes excellence. So these are the ancient Greek thinkers, Socrates, Aristotle, Plato. All of them are advocated virtue ethics. This means temperance, justice, and character. So let us discuss about the teachings of Socrates. Socrates was known as the Athens gadfly. When we say gadfly, it is a person who is fond of annoying or provoking something with criticism, schemes, ideas, demands, and requests. So Socrates believed that philosophy could be properly taught and practiced by oral methods only. So meaning, he was well known of his conversational skills and public teaching. He also likes to inject his own ideas, theories into public discussion, meaning he wants to debate and in public and presented the discussion with famous Athenians. He also considered writing was an inappropriate technique. That's why most of his knowledge available about Socrates is through the works of Plato, his disciple. So maybe he doesn't like to be famous. So that's why his works was not put into writing. So it was only known through the works of Plato, his disciple. He put the works of Socrates into writing. So it was his student Plato who made writings about him. So he only explained his mission through oracular message. So he also likes to interrogate, or what we call a questioning habit. Okay. So questioning revealed people's ignorance and aroused people's interest in fundamental philosophical questions. He maintains that public discussion of the great issues of life and virtue is a necessary part of any valuable human life. Meaning, it is one way of helping individuals achieve genuine self-knowledge, even if it turns out to be negative in character. So he wants to debate or to interrogate something. So that is the reason why he was executed. Because he was put into trial and because of his art of questioning, always criticizing the public about in virtue of or in search for truth or knowledge. So Socrates was also regarded as the founder of moral philosophy, or what we call moral heroism. He founded that the method of trying to reach truth by persistent questioning. To quote Neil, Socrates was acknowledged master of all the eminent thinkers who have once since lived. Okay, so meaning to say, he always inflict the power of reasoning, and that is why he was called the master of all the eminent thinkers. His willingness to call everything into questions and determination, to accept nothing less than an account of the nature of things, make him the first clear exponent of critical philosophy. So to sum up, Socrates' philosophy remained totally centered around values. So next, we have Plato. He was called the Athens philosophical writer. Why? Why? Because he was a disciple of Socrates and propagated his ideas further also. So Socrates was well known because of Plato, because of his writings. He was called philosophical writing Because he built the concept on philosophy that were in explanation and understanding, putting the cause and meaning between it. For example, the reality, thinking and reality. So what is the relationship of thinking and reality? So that is why Socrates only discussed about moral problems, whereas Plato discussed moral as well as worldly philosophical problems with equal importance, and this also includes mathematics, nature, and etc. So, the nature of mathematical objects. So, what are the numbers? The geometrical objects. Okay, so that is all about philosophical problems with equal importance. So, according to Plato, being puzzled and therefore wanting to be unpuzzled is the origin of philosophy. So, about virtue, you can only comprehend the true reality of the world existence based in your everyday experience. So, that is all about Plato. So, just like Socrates, Plato taught people to think of oneself and any question independently and to be ready to question everybody and everything. So, just like Socrates, he also admired Socrates' way of questioning, interrogating, in order to search or to know the truth or something beyond your knowledge. And so to quote, Plato, philosophy begins in wonder. So when we say philosophy begins in wonder, so everything in this world is a decaying copy of something whose ideal from exists outside space and time. So in other words, nothing in this world is permanent. So that is about the theory of form and idea. That nothing in this world is permanent and everything is always becoming. So Plato also hated democracy. Why? Because during the times when Socrates was put into trial, he exercised democratic way of living. But what happened to Socrates? He was executed. So that is why he hated democracy. Yung freedom of speech. So he hated democracy by way of freedom of speech. And Plato was hostile to art stream. Why? So Plato considered any artistic production dangerous because it is an obstacle to the contemplation of truth. So since the art of questioning and something or using words is an example of art, that is a rhetoric art, he don't like artworks because in his mindset, freedom is achieved in the opposite direction. Reality is already in illusion. So it is built according to ideal forms that lay beyond our senses, which so often fail to give a correct response for it. Also, Plato emphasized that human is a mixture of three conflicting elements, which is the passion, intellect, and will. So, what do you mean by this passion, intellect, and will? So, conflicting elements, meaning to say they are contradicting with each other. So, Plato, ideal living is when the intellect controls the passion through the will. So, sometimes we have that saying that don't let your heart control over your body. But I suggest that what lies behind the Platonic model is a conception of passion and intellect as relatively independent and structurally opposed components locked in struggle. Because passions are either simply disruptive or are disposed to be so intellect must defeat them. So sometimes we let our passion control our body or our emotion, and sometimes our intellect contradict it. So that is all about the mixture of three conflicting elements: the passion, the intellect, and the will. So let us proceed to Aristotle's teachings. So he was called the groundings in reality. Why? So actually, he was the founder of the academy in Athens. Okay, so he was Plato's best, most gifted, and most famous student. So what are the teachings of Aristotle? So he was called the philosopher on groundings reality because his view of reality were enshrined in what we refer to as what we call today the metaphysics. So these are the values, ethics, politics. He also focused on many rational subjects like zoology, logic, psychology, botany, astronomy, physics, poetry, meteorology, economy, metaphysics, rhetoric, and etc. And we have also here, he also invented technical terms such as energy, dynamics, induction, demonstration, substance, attribute, essence, property, accident, category, topic, proposition, and universal. So even the title of the subject physics gets its name from Aristotle's book with this title. So Aristotle rejected the idea of two worlds. He only gave recognition to this world, that anything beyond the possibility of experience was nothing for him. So it was a contradiction to what Plato's teaching. So anything beyond the possibility of experience has nothing for him. So while Plato's teaching, he believed that in search for truth, man or a certain individual should have wide experiences, or their everyday experiences will help him search for truth. Okay, so that is contradiction for what Plato's teachings. He also denied carrying on empty talks about so-called ideal forms. So it is also a contradiction to Plato's teaching. Aristotle writes of the dissimilarities of two systems as a neutral but interested observer. So Aristotle set his theological view of nature, that is, he believed organisms develop as they did because they had a natural goal. So Aristotle also said that art is complementary to soul and art makes people strong. For example, poetry is more philosophical and more worthy of serious attention than history. So another contradiction to Plato. So Plato hated arts, while Aristotle likes arts as a complementary to soul. So Aristotle is termed as a great observer in philosophy and all other fields of work. He approaches his subjects by recording and systematizing numerous observations. Thus, his method is more empirical. What is being? And all men by virtue desire to know are his famous quotes. So, he also gave emphasis to teleology in philosophy and politics. So, this teleological teachings is all about the goal of human beings. So, human beings was Its goal, human beings' goal is to live in the society of polis, and that the city-state came into existence to meet the human needs. So that is the reason why sometimes people like to migrate in other modernized places or modernized countries in order to satisfy their human wants and human needs. So that is all about the goal of human beings in connection with teleological view of nature. Okay, so that is all about Greek ethical teachings. So to sum up, Greek ethical teachings, Socrates interested in political and ethical matters, while Plato, his philosophy is theory of forms. Knowledge is an active process through which we organize and classify own perceptions. Emphasis also the social aspect of human nature. While Aristotle, a common sense of ethics built on naturalism and self-realization, and also teleological view of nature. So that is all about Greek ethical teachings. So let us proceed to Christian ethics. So this Christian ethics was originated before and after the birth of Jesus Christ. So these are the teaching of Jesus Christ. So number one is eternal life. So we all know that the separation from God is death, but the union with Him is life. So we all know that. So what we call that? Buhay na walang hanggan. So that is eternal life. So after death, there is life with God. So next, number two, it source in God. So according to the Bible, the verse in John 3:16. So you know that verse, John 3:16. For God so loved the world that He gave His only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in Him should not perish, but have everlasting life. So that is all about the teaching of Jesus Christ. So that completes the explanation, which is through the Son. So need of new birth. So meaning to say, when we say need of new birth, we became born again, diba? Born again. Because when Jesus died on the cross, we became born again. So that is need of new birth. How about the nature of faith? So we have the story in the Bible that who's that disciple? Because he was, nagkaroon siya ng agam-agam. The cock crows 3 times. Because he denied Jesus Christ, hindi siya naniwala because his faith, kumbaga nawala siya ng faith. So that is all about faith, that even hindi natin nakikita to Jesus Christ, we have that faith like a mustard, a seed of mustard. Okay, and the next one, fruits of union with Christ. So what is the importance in our life of believing in God, having faith in God? So that is all about union with Christ. That eternal life is not merely a gift of the future to be given at the death of the body, but is enjoyed even now by those who abide in the Father. So if we abide in Him, so surely we will be in His throne after the death. So after death, there is life with Him. Okay, so that is all about Christian ethics. Okay, so let us proceed about the famous saints who also have Christian teachings for us. So Saint Augustine. So these are the emphasis of his teachings. Arguments why the soul is immortal. So when we say immortal, our soul. So what is the difference between the body and the soul? So the soul, we all know that when we die, only our physical body will be buried or will decay or decompose, but our soul will either be in heaven or in hell. It depends upon our good deeds here on earth. So that is about why the soul is immortal. And she also argues that science exists anywhere it exists in the living. And humans are the only living beings who possess a rational soul and cannot reason without science. So sometimes we have that arguments that scientists did not believe in Christ because they have their own beliefs, they have their own experiments about everything in search of truth and knowledge. So most of them did not believe in the Christian teachings or teachings of Jesus Christ. They also believe that the mind, soul to be source of life, our body, and something cannot lack itself. The soul cannot lack itself, thus it cannot die. So it's true. So only our physical body will die, but our soul remains. Okay. Believe that the truth is from within through a process of illumination, and not by observing the world of nature. Okay. So when we say illumination, it is a spiritual or intellectual enlightenment. Okay. So that is why many Christians believe that if you want to know the truth, read the Bible. So that is the most important learning, the teachings of the Bible. So everything is nothing, even educational theories, you have learned, even you masters, you have doctorals, you graduate doctor of education. But what most important is, when you believe that the truth is from within, you must read the teachings of the Bible. And here another saint, we have Thomas Aquinas or Aquinas. There is indeed life after death. So same with Saint Augustine. So that is why some people really it's very conscious or anxious to do to invest goodness because they wanted to go to heaven. So that is their goal in life, because there is indeed life after death. And one of his strongest arguments was that immortality of the soul is the justification of separation of the body and the soul. So same with Saint Augustine. So only our body will die, but also our soul will remain. The active intellect is the part of the intellect able to abstract from knowledge of the passive. Okay. So meaning to say, if our knowledge or our mind is nurtured with the kind of proper learnings, our intellect can be able to absorb certain knowledge. So if we are passive, we will be, meaning in terms of judging others, we will not be able to come up with the right decision. So that is all about the teachings of Christian ethical teachings and Greek ethical teachings. That is all, and thank you.